Here's the thing. I might be putting this video out. Someone might be looking at it and hearing my voice, my opinions, and that's kind of scary because I'm not sure who I'm talking to. It's not exactly like I'm talking to another person. People find that when they try to argue with me, they don't win. And that's simply because I'm not competing with anybody. I did compete. It's called debate, but it wasn't ever in a high stakes situation. It was for class, and that wasn't really high stakes because I always get good grades. Anyways, yeah, I if I could do things differently, as we all tend to think at times, I would definitely do more with debate. Maybe I would have. Maybe I should have done more with debate. It was just never something that was quote unquote cool. So I just never sought it out. It's one of those things. If you've never heard about it, it's called representation. If you're someone who only sees yourself in the figures of like celebrities, then it won't ever cross your mind to do other things. If you never see yourself represented in something, then you won't think to do it. It won't ever cross your mind to do it. So yeah, I never really saw Latinos debating. I mean, like I saw my peers who were Latinos debating, but I wasn't. I never aspired to be like my peers. So yeah, it's interesting. I wonder about that. I was watching a video, and this cute blonde, smart, was. It's a YouTube thing, right? So it was on YouTube, and she mentioned about how she was Greek, and about she just started talking about herself, but not like crazy. Basically, what I was saying is that show where she's on is a show that she doesn't talk about herself. She talks about other things. She talks about like uh uh it's like if like a YouTuber talks about Pokemon, you talk about other things, you know? But when she did make it personal, then I thought I was like, "Huh. That's interesting that she made it personal about herself." You know, she she mentioned something about her life and her family that me as an audience member was like, huh, that's about you, and then not about the thing that you're making your show about. And that just got me thinking. It put me in this thoughtful mood. It's like I imagine some people would feel put off by that and be like, don't talk about yourself. That's not the kind of entertainment we want. Some people want entertainment, but not to connect with the person providing them in the entertainment. And some people are happy to do that. They don't want to make a connection. They want to keep it very distant. Obviously, I'm not. I'm not one of those people. I have a hard time um, not making a personal connection, uh, which is why again it's scary to like make these videos. Uh, but I'm not gonna make them private again. I mean, they were private for a while, And I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not regretting making it public. But obviously, I'm obviously my videos don't get thousands of views. One of them got 1,000 views, which is pretty cool. And it's interesting because I'm essentially just like talking, like it's all about me, you know. And that's on purpose. I mean, I mentioned it in the description of the channel that this is like my journal. So it just so happens that I am very focused on myself. Maybe because myself is the only person I can control. How do you focus on someone else when you can't control them? I don't know. How would you focus on someone else? Like, I guess you have to focus on other people if you're like competing. People in competition have to focus on other people. Huh. Maybe I'm not good at competition because I can't really focus on other people. But maybe I can actually. I don't know. I'm just talking right now. It's just interesting though to be like, oh, the difference between focusing on yourself and focusing on others is really, I don't know, it's interesting because when you put videos out on a public platform, you essentially are leaving the door open for people to whatever, right? Um, and so far, I haven't really had that many guests, so it hasn't really been crazy at all. I've just been working hard in my day to day life. Um, but nonetheless, the door is open. And so people can metaphorically walk inside and I guess hear what I have to say about stuff, but then but then it's on me to like have something to say. And I don't normally talk about stuff. Like, I mean, I don't voice my opinion normally. Um, but I mean, I want to though. I definitely want to start voicing my opinion more and more. If and then if I have if it does turn out that I do have something to say, then I guess I'll know about it. You'll let me know about it. I'll be able to see it through my views and stuff. Uh, yeah. I mean, I suppose I can see how my opinion would be valuable. Um, just because I'm, I mean, I read a lot. I stay. What's the word I'm looking for? Aware of current events. Um, but I guess I just never feel like I never feel like my opinion is worth saying. One, because oftentimes I don't have the energy to put up with people who disagree, and that's because I'm like I'm not really trying to change your mind. If you disagree with me, um, honestly, oftentimes I feel like I'm just not. Uh, I feel correctly. I think that I'm often misunderstood when it comes to my opinions because I'm never someone who's trying to definitively say something is one way or another. I'm always someone who's just I don't know. I guess I'm just always looking to have a conversation. I guess like I don't mind if you disagree with me, but like for example, I don't think abortion is good or bad, but my mother, right? You cannot have a conversation with my mother about that because she will bite your head off. And you know, don't have a conversation with my mom about abortion if you're me. Of course, if you're someone else, I think she's a little bit more tamed. But when I try to have a conversation with her about that, nope. Nope, 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 nope. It either gets too hot to handle or it gets shut down altogether. So, but I mean, and for me, that's kind of like tough because as her son, I would wish that she would just understand that I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong. Um, I but like here's the other side to it, right? It's like, okay, well, you might an opinion is strong and a conversation is strong when the two sides of the conversation has stand on something. Um, and especially in high stakes situations, like for example, the president, you can't afford to be open minded. Um, the position doesn't call for an open minded person. You have to have a stand and you have to make a decision about things. That's just how it goes in high stakes situations. Um, you can't be someone like me who's worried about saying the right thing or the wrong thing. I just, man, like if I say my opinion about something, I'm probably right, to be honest. Like I'm probably right. But the other side to that is how deep are we going to go in the conversation? Because there's a hierarchy when it comes to the human when it comes to like human communication. Uh, there's like at the top there's three levels. At the very top, which is the one we all exist in all the time, is the situation. Uh, what is the situation that we're in? Are we talking at a coffee shop? Are we playing video games and talking? Right? What's the situation? The level beneath that is how in control of our reasoning are we, and how developed is it? Um, I've spent a lot of time in academia where I've had to sharpen my reasoning skills and really develop them. Um, and then underneath that is where are you emotionally? Because that base level, emotions, is the base level that everything else stands on. So it's really hard to have a conversation when your emotion. That's why it's really hard to have a conversation uh, when emotions are activated, because that's really that's where the sweet spot is. Um, you can easily know somebody. I think uh, when you get to the core of what's emotionally driving them. It's communication is an emotion driven thing, and we just layer it with other things, like our reasoning, our logic, our experiences. Um, but it all stems from our emotion. Uh, so for like when it comes to my mom, she gets angry. You know, that's an emotion she has a lot of access to. So it's always yelling. You know, and that's fine, you know. But the role I always play with her when it comes to that is, well, for a long time I've always played like the role of like, oh, okay, well, maybe think about it this way, maybe think about it that way. Uh, I've kind of gotten away from that, unfortunately, as of late, um, because my own frustration and anger about my own life situation has been at the forefront of my stuff. Change, change is on the way. Change is good. Change is like Thanos, inevitable, 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 inevitable. Bull. English, stupid. English is like the most. I can't believe other cultures find the English or the American accent sexy. Believe it or not, other cultures outside of the United States find the American dialect sexy. The way Americans find the English or the French accent sexy, or the Mexican accent, um, Spanish, Spanish accent. I don't think people find the Mexican accent sexy. They find it intimidating, which is, I think, how Mexicans like it. They want you to be intimidated, um, because they're scared and they're hurt. They're like animals. They're like perros barked up, backed into a corner. You know, they want you to be afraid because they're backed into a corner. But I suppose we all would. That's not specific to Mexicans. But I mean, I guess I'm just making an observation about a stereotype. I don't know if I've educated you, but yeah, I think that's a stereotype about Mexicans. Stereotypes. Stereotypes are a method for us as human beings to categorize, to group, and the way that we group together other things. We group things, stuff like numbers, for example, to make it easier, um, to make it easier to pull out of our memory. Uh, when it comes to numbers, it helps to have a rhythm. It helps to group numbers by bigger numbers. If you have a giant number like 1,200,000 or 234,567, right? Uh, it's easier to remember that if you group it in a certain way. Okay, well, 12 and then 34. Or you find patterns that make it easier to remember, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Um, that's kind of how stereotypes work. But why? That's the question I have. Why? Uh, People think that stereotypes or the ability to form stereotypes um, comes from the same part of our brain that, uh, like, if you think about it, stereotypes are kind of stupid, right? Like, they're kind of the purpose that they serve. They serve a purpose for sure, but it's a purpose that comes from a very primitive part of our brain. Um, it's the part of our brain that says, "Don't go by that bush because I got bit by a snake one time," and so you're cautious of all bushes, right? It's that same thing. It's that same lizard brain that gets activated when it comes to stereotypes. So that makes it harder to objectively look at stereotypes, because it is such a deep integral part of human tribalism, I guess. um Us versus them. They are bad, we are good, because we don't know them. There's a lack of connection there. And so great, easy peasy, right? Just go make a connection with them. But it ain't that easy, because man, that's just not how the human brain works, dude. It's like, you would think that it would be easy enough if you are a racist white person to go shake hands with a black person, get to know them, where they come from. You would think, and then vice versa, you would be able to develop a connection. But like, how hard is it to develop a connection with like your family? You know? Like, just because, I mean, it's about steps, right? It's about steps. Like, the first step is connection. But I mean, but it's a powerful first step. Don't get me wrong. Like, making a connection with someone is a very powerful first step. But let's not forget that life is long. For a lot of us, life is long. Um, so yeah, you might have a connection with someone, but a month from now, they might do something that pisses you off, and then that's all it takes for your brain to make those connections and be like, oh, let me break down who this person is by their skin, by their clothes, by their whatever, by the car they drive. And now I'm going to associate that feeling that person gave me with everyone who reminds me of that person. It's not conscious. It's not a conscious thing that happens. It happens in our subconscious. Now, the question I have, is that right or is it wrong? Should evolution weed that part of our brains out? And if the answer is yes, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, no debate. If the answer is yes, um, well, in basketball, there's a saying: if you're gonna trade someone, then who are you gonna replace them with? If we're gonna get rid of that, if we're gonna get rid of stereotypes in our brain, what's gonna replace it? Because you can't just get rid of it. That's, I don't know, like, I don't think evolution is gonna get rid of it. Assuming that from here we follow the same path of evolution, which I think we will. I mean, evolution hasn't really changed. I mean, listen, I'm a dude who plays video games. I and not even for a living. I just for a living, which is what anyone seems to care about. I work DoorDash. I make deliveries, and every once in a blue moon, I'll like do something in entertainment, you know. But it's been a bitch, ache. Uh, just, I don't know, man. It's when it comes to like living a full life, career is only a part of it. It's probably like, I don't know, for men it's probably 40% of our entire wheel of fulfillment in life. Family being another 40. I think like our careers and our families make up the majority of it. Um, I don't know, probably for women too. Like, but I'm not speaking for women, so I'm just keeping it to like men, because I am obviously a strong man. Yeah, not insecure at all. But yeah, and like when it comes to my career, I just I beat myself up a lot. I beat myself up a lot. Like, you got to understand, I am coming from living out of my car. And now I'm living with my dad. And look, this isn't like a therapy session, so I'm not going to get like too deep into it, but let's just say that maybe I'm not where I'm going to be, hopefully, uh, in like another year or two. Yeah, it's just, man, it's just what it is. Life is long, dude. Like, I'm 30, and I feel old, but I'm not old. When I say I feel old, and when anyone says they feel old, I believe what they mean to say is that they used to have a lot of energy and a lot of fire, and now they don't anymore, which is textbook depression. That's depression, yo. If you're someone who used to have a lot of energy and now you don't anymore, that's depression. And it doesn't take trauma. People think, oh, well, I can't be depressed because nothing traumatic has happened. It's like, that's kind of not how it works. Like, I'll debate this with any scientist, but like, traumatic events aren't what they seem. For example, shout outs to my mom, shout outs to her, I love her. I got slapped in the face as a kid. In the face. More than once. And my dad, hardworking man, came from a rough life, punched me in the chest as a kid and once as a grown man. None of that stuff had as much of an effect on my overall sense of self as just getting older. My critique of pop science or pop culture, and as it stands, like, everyone talks about, oh, trauma therapy, this and that, and it's like, yo, we come from the jungle. We come from trauma. That's like throwing water at a fish. The trauma isn't what's causing the depression. I think okay, so here's my hot take. I think depression is just as normal as gravity. Like, the bigger a planet is, or the more mass something has, the more gravity it has, right? On a planetary scale. Uh, and I think the older we get, or at least at a certain point in our maturity, we all inevitably hit this spot in our age where depression is just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen, independent of trauma. Now that's a theory that if I was any kind of scientist, I would test, if it's even possible to test in a controlled setting, right? You have a controlled group, and then you have group B, and then maybe a group C, and maybe a group D, where you would test this theory out. But I don't even know what you would measure. Like, how do you measure depression? I mean, there's like compounds in our brain, like molecular compounds in our brain that people are associating with depression, but that shit can be wrong. I mean, shit like that. And I mean, it ain't a bad thing because our knowledge and our uh like like we never have everything figured out, and everything's if everything is infinitely a mystery, then we're infinitely learning, you know? So it's hard to say for sure about anything, really. Even what I'm saying. But I'm just but that doesn't work when it comes to like taking a stand. I'm not being emotionally. I'm like I'm the emotion underlying everything I've said in the past like 5 or 10 minutes has been whatever emotion you would attribute to the feeling of like wanting to be heard. Uh, I don't I don't um I don't have a platform, I guess, to speak my mind, and I find that whenever I just yeah, I just don't get the opportunity a lot. Uh, Except when I'm in therapy. When I'm in therapy, I get the opportunity to be heard. Uh, so yeah. Anyways, that's it. 30 minutes. I'm done. Thank you for listening.